The world we live in has changed for now, and travel along with it. An element of isolation colors our daily experience, subject to constant checks and social constraints. But these months stuck in the city has driven many of us to seek out the great open spaces of Sarawak to begin new journeys to discover our own state, starting right now instead of waiting for tomorrow.
This has long been my passion. I spend my weekdays designing interiors, working 9 to 5, often indoors. But on my weekends, I aim to get out, exploring the countryside, climbing mountains, fording streams, taking all kinds of untapped trails. Hi, I'm Ian Vong. I'm always looking for new destinations, and I'm really disappointed by the great state of Sarawak. This time, I'm heading for the Highlands, one of the most remote areas of Borneo. First to Bario, and then on to Bacalalan, experiencing the incredible culture of the Kelabit who call these highlands home. Join me on my journey over the next 6 episodes.
Bario is not easily accessed. It is over 600 kilometers away from Kuching in the north of Sarawak, and a trip by road means days of treacherous logging treks. We opt for the air.
Okay, we are catching the flight 8 p.m. to Miri, flight to Bario tomorrow. Boarding.
But even though Bario has an airport, it still isn't easy to reach. A flight from Kuching is followed by an overnight stop in Miri, a long journey of late evenings, enforced transits, and early morning awakenings.
We just landed Miri. Now I'm kinda hungry. Have to find some food in city. It's 6 a.m. in the morning. Now I'm on standby to Bario. Hopefully I can get on the flight on time.
The adventure begins on the last leg of the journey. The airstrip in Bario was first built in the 1950s by the Borneo Evangelical Missions. It is a small runway, and a small runway demands an even smaller plane. Say hello to this tiny twin otter. Expect to get up close and personal with your fellow passengers, including the pilots. But it's only a short 45-minute hop across to Bario, occasionally bare knuckle, but the scenery below is breathtaking. It certainly beats the 10-hour journey by road from Miri on bumpy logging tracks. Bario is about 1,000 meters above sea level, and from this low altitude, the paths are clearly visible, winding up through the mountains as they rise below the flight path. There are about 13 villages dotted around these hills. These communities still largely rely on farming and foraging, pineapples, forest products, and of course, the eponymous Bario rice. At last, the patchwork of paddy fields that characterizes the Kelabit countryside comes into view. Bario means wind in the Kelabit language, for reasons which become immediately apparent on arrival. The cool breeze and increased elevation put a pleasant chill in the air, with average temperature ranging between 14 and 26 degrees centigrade, significantly lower than Sarawak's sweltering cities. This area is also known as the land of 100 handshakes, a reference to the unmatched hospitality of the local communities. An open-air ride on the back of a 4x4 is exactly what's needed to blow away the cobwebs from the flight. Just make sure you hold on tight, it can be a bumpy ride. Bario is home to just over 300 households, a population of around 1,500 people, mostly Kelabit. With only around 5,000 members of this indigenous group in Sarawak and only 1,800 of those still living in the highlands, the preservation of Kelabit culture and language is essential. Bario is its heartland.
I just arrived Bario. I would like to introduce you, John. He will be my tourist guide for a few days.
My name is John. I'm from Bario. I was born here and I brought up in Bario. We have lots of things to share, what nature we have and also the culture that we have here.
Welcome to Bario!
Bario is built on a plateau and circled by tall hills. At its base is a community synonymous with Presidium Padi. The unique species of rice cultivated here has taken its name from this settlement, greatly sought after and known throughout Sarawak simply as Bario rice. In spite of the hills that surround it, it is a wet paddy that yields grains which are slightly sweet and sticky. Cultivated entirely without pesticides or herbicides, it has sustained the Kelabit for generations. An intricate irrigation system of bamboo pipes brings water to even the furthest fields. But often, they can just rely on the rain. The weather demanded a day indoors in Bario's original longhouse. This is a communal dwelling of 22 doors, including a homestay. Traditionally, the Kelabit were animist, adhering to a strict system of rituals and taboos to keep the natural and spirit worlds in alignment. Although now predominantly Christian, elements of the traditional culture remain proudly on display in intricate beadwork, carving, and design. Kelabit society itself was previously hierarchical, divided into aristocrats, the middle class, and commoners. But everyone lived together under one roof, and many of them still do in the longhouse, a special feature of Sarawak life common to many of the state's indigenous people. These families share the space but each have their own apartments, complete with an open hearth, thankfully undercover. The food is at the heart of every family here in the Highlands, cultivating it, collecting it, cooking it, and of course, eating it.
This would be my first time preparing a Kelabit dish. Pakcik, apa ini barang?
Ini dalam bahasa Melayu, damar.
Dama,
Dalam bahasa Kelabit, natang.
natang. This is the jungle diamond.
Dulu kami pakai macam Kindle.
Kindle.
Kindle,
Oh,
ya.
okay.
Kalau mau buat api pun pakai pasang ini.
Ini dari mana? Ini ambil dari
Ini
mana?
dari kayu jati.
Kayu
Kayu jati.
jati.
Ini kayu dalam hutan besar sana.
Oh, besar punya
Ya,
kayu.
dia punya getah keluar dari atas sana.
Aha.
Kalau sudah besar, dia jatuh sendiri.
Oh, ya jatuh sendiri.
Ya,
Bukan.
jatuh sendiri.
Oh, okey. Macam mana pakai ini masak?
Ya, kita potong dah.
Potong.
Ya. Ini kata lah. Betul. Ambil
Betul.
satu.
Ini,
Ya,
ini cukup.
cukup.
Terus pakai ini.
Ya, kasih hidup.
Kasih hidup. Ada minyak,
Jaga dia jatuh tangan kamu.
Okey.
Ada barang mau jatuh dalam.
Oh, mati sudah. Okey, simpan atas.
Itu macam. Ambil itu kayu.
Tapi ini kayu.
Ini betul.
Ini masuk sini.
Okey.
Itu saja. Boleh
ya.
barbecue sudah.
Ya, nanti dia punya api besar. Ada arang sudah, barbecue lah.
Oh, okey.
Oh, ini barang yang pakai pegang dah.
Oh, tapi ini pegang.
Ya, ini.
Ini. Oh, ini pun
Ya, ini dari bulu. Kelabit kata bulu pit
this is
namanya.
made of bamboo. Oh, ini pun macam fireplace kan?
Ya.
Fireplace.
Kalau sejuk pagi ya, mesti mau duduk dekat api.
Oh, ini English. Nama ini kiap.
Ya kan?
Much of Kelabit cooking is still done over the open flame. The barbecue is central to their cuisine, especially when it comes to the preparation of their preferred meat. The main cooking implement is still the parang, used for everything from farming to food preparation. The blades are razor sharp and make short work of the ribs. Only one seasoning is needed, copious handfuls of Bario salt. Naturally occurring and rich in minerals, this salt is collected from springs in the surrounding area. It is a much traded commodity.
Sebelum kita panggang dia ataupun nuno dia dalam bahasa Kelabit, kita cuci dia bersih-bersih. Sudah itu simpan garam. Sudah simpan garam, baru masuk atas satu api. Simpan.
Simpan atas.
Ya.
Tengah-tengah sini.
Kira
Okey.
susun dia macam dari sini, tepi, satu lagi susun dia macam ni pergi sana lah. Tu lah.
Kalau dia masuk boleh lah.
Tapi,
Memang
boleh.
orang ini pandai tunuk babi hutan lah. Kena biasa ada tunuk dalam hutan.
Ini masak dulu boleh makan.
kalau mau makan macam tu nanti kanibal sudah.
Longhouse life carries on at a different pace. This is certainly not cooking with gas. It means long hours of shared times and shared stories, tending the fire with your own breath from the blowpipe, but the flavor is born in the flame.
Ingin saya mau beritahu kita pasal makanan orang Kelabit di Bario, kampung Bario asal. Ini kacang panjang, campur dengan buah itu busak luduh, yang kami kata busak luduh. Yang ini satu dinamakan lanau, tapi kami sebut dia seperagas Bario. Sedap dimakan. Ini
Ayam goreng.
ayam goreng.
Biasa, special.
Ya, biasa. Inilah beras Bario. Nasi beras Bario. Ini satu sup campur dengan ikan. Ikan apa nih?
Ikan apa nih?
Ikan selutan. Ini nanas Bario.
Nanas Bario.
Nanas Bario
Sweet and
paling
juicy.
sedap, paling manis. Banyak orang mau makan ini nanas dari Bario. Tapi sekarang tidak cukup lah dia punya buah. Orang datang pakai kita lagi datang.
Oh, tidak cukup.
Tidak cukup. Mesti makanan banyak-banyak lagi. Tunggu kamu orang dari kucing lagi.
Okey.
Ya.
Good.
Inilah makanan kita. Lagi makanan kita yang di Salai sana belum lagi masak babi hutan.
The Kelabit diet is healthy. consisting mostly of freshest fruit and vegetables from the fields and forests outside, straight from farm to plate, completely unprocessed. The aroma of smoked meat is intoxicating. The intense smell of charcoal seared in over a long, slow roast. This is an experience that cannot be rushed. Instead, it must be savored. These simple flavors take time. Village life starts early in the morning, as soon as the sun rises. The community is close-knit and almost entirely self-sufficient. It is a rugged life of self-reliance but also filled with great beauty. The modern world has come in with the road on the back of an endless caravan of mud-splattered 4x4s. Unlike many rural communities in Sarawak, electricity is plentiful thanks to a solar project, though the internet is almost non-existent. The ideal excuse to connect to the community instead of the outside world. Village life continues on the neat town centre, which serves most of the residents' needs. A convenient row of Kedai, blending both the longhouse and the shophouse. This is the bustle of Bario, where the new stands side by side with the old. And of course, where the local people come to sit side by side with old friends and eat. Sarawak is incredibly proud of its own laksa, and rightly so. But Bario does a twist on the tradition. Up in the Highlands, they add bitter gourd to the richly spiced broth. Entirely unexpected, but somehow it works. A must try for any visitor to Bario.
Whoa.
This is the sambal pineapple.
Pineapple sambal.
Yes.
This is my Bario lunch. Kolong mee and laksa. Why limit yourself to just one?
Nice.
A remote community requires all its amenities. Healthcare services, administrative centers, and a school, but all on a much smaller scale. Even the police station is tiny, though instantly recognizable by its distinctive white and blue color scheme, the same as in the rest of Sarawak. In the land of 100 handshakes, however, crime is an unusual occurrence. The community ties are close, and it seems as though everyone can call each other by name. It's easy to romanticize the idea of living here. I begin to dream of retirement. Much of life in Bario remains manual. The cars might have come in, but the service is entirely by hand. From the measuring to the pouring of the field. It takes time to fill up one car, but allows customer to have a catch-up. Everyone works together to help this community continue in its home far up in the Highlands. They have a long story here, much of it contained in this community. But in the Second World War, this area played host to events on the world stage. Bario's extreme isolation, especially at the end of World War II, made it an ideal location for a secret Allied operation codenamed Operation Samud. A reconnaissance team of Australian Special Forces were parachuted into the northern reaches of Japanese-occupied Sarawak in 1945. Their remit to relay information back to Australian headquarters and to train the local populations in guerrilla warfare. Three Samud teams ran resistance in the dying days of war, ably empowered by the support from the local people. Japanese operations were uncovered and disrupted, the intelligence and action contributing to the liberation of Sarawak soon after. Surviving Samud soldiers, and now more often their families, still make regular pilgrimages into Bario to visit this monument and commemorate their combined contribution to Sarawak history. A second reminder from the skies of the outside world is this derelict plane carcass. It is a wreck of a Scottish aviation twin Pioneer CC-1 operated by the Royal Air Force. This type of plane, ideal for short-field takeoffs and landings, saw active duty in Borneo in the 1960s. This particular plane skidded off a wet runway in September 1964 and has remained abandoned on site ever since. Thankfully, however, the 4 occupants of the aircraft all managed to walk away from the accident. But over the years, stripped of all its salvageable parts, the shell has come to rest comfortably in Bario, a reminder of passing time as the natural world grows back around it. Join me in the next episode where we take a deeper journey into the Highlands and meet more Highlanders. Their past merging with the future. And I discover a bit more of myself and how much the culture means to them, and surprisingly, me as well.